Hello friends and welcome back to another tips and tricks. Today we're gonna create a cool input field like this one. So on Apple website, when you want to sign into your ID, to your Apple ID, you have this cool transition when you click on this email field, and you can see that the text goes smaller and this button there is there. And in fact, if you enter a valid Apple ID and press this button, another field adds to this very nicely with a nice transition to ask for your password. Now, we'll see if we can do the second part too, but for now, we're going to just focus on this very first field. So back to the project, I am using Google Fonts as well as Font Awesome. So let me show you. I'm using Google Fonts Poppins and also Font Awesome. You can get the CDN from this website. I will link all these websites in the description. And then we're going to use this icon. So you can see we have this icon right here. So we're going to use Font Awesome icons right there, circle right. And some color palettes from Color Hunt, which we're going to use. All right. So again, these websites will be linked in the description. Let's go back to the project and let's just start with the HTML site. And I'm going to close this head. I also have my CSS file, which I don't have it yet, but I have it linked. So let's just create it main.css. Well, nothing in it. So again, it's a boilerplate of HTML with Google Fonts and CDN of Font Awesome, and also my CSS file linked in. All right, let's go to the body. I'm going to have a section. I will use a section element as the wrapper of the card or whatever we want to call it. Within that, I will have an image, which will be my logo. There we go. I don't need an alt because it doesn't matter for now. We're just going to focus on the field. I'm going to give it 150 for, yeah. And then I will have a form. Again, doesn't do anything. Within that, we will have a div with an ID of input dash wrapper. There we go. Within that, we will have an input, which will be required. And then I will keep it as text, and I'll explain. You can do this later. You can type it, change the type, but for now, we're going to keep it as text. We'll have an span, which will act as a placeholder, email or phone number. And then a button, btn, and then I will use that font awesome. Where is it? There we go. So I'm going to click on this element, bring it to the project, and back here. And the reason you can see here, so the Apple field, this email field also says email or phone number. So, and they are handling all the validation and all sorts of things on the back end, of course. All right. So far, this is what we have. Let's go to our CSS. I think we're good here, right? Yeah, let's go to the CSS. I'm gonna format this, by the way. CSS. I'm gonna reset my CSS. So star padding 0, margin, oops, max width, margin 0, box sizing, border box. And then I'm gonna go to the body, add the font family. So it was Poppins and sans serif. I don't know, was it sans serif or sans alone? Doesn't really matter because, yeah, sans serif. We're getting the Poppins anyway. Now, for the background, I'm going to use a mild creamy color, but for the color itself, or the text, we're going to use that color palette that I pulled up already. So this should be the background, but a bit lighter. And then this is the main text color. And I'm going to get the RGB because I want the RGB for other reasons. Okay. And as well as for this creamy color, RGB, cream or whatever, but this one is too yellow, and I'm gonna make it a bit softer. All right, that's fine. All right, so I think this is good for now. Let's go back. We have section now. Let's target that section. And I'm sorry, I should, yeah, I will say on the body, we'll want to say 100 view height because I want to center everything. Display flex, um, justify content center, and then align items also center. Now I'm going to copy this because I need it in my section. Also say flex direction should be column. So far so good. All right, background white, and let's see. There we go. I'm going to add a padding of 50 pixel all around and border radius of 15 pixel. And I also want to add box shadow, and then for that I'm using CSS scan. So get cssscan.com. Again, the link will be in the description. I'm using Tailwind CSS shadows number 38, which is a cool one. I love Tailwind. I actually use Tailwind all the time, but for the purpose of this video I'm just using plain CSS. Alright, that's the wrapper. I can't give space between these two, but kind of lazy. Next is the wrapper itself, so the input wrapper. And I'm gonna say, what did we call it? We called it input wrapper, right? Did I wrapper? Yes. And what do I need here? So if I give it a background so see where I'm working on, okay, that's it. The width of that should be 400 pixel, okay? And I'm adding a fixed width because if I make these absolute, these texts, the width will be, it will mess up the width. And position should be relative because everything else inside should be positioned relative to this wrapper. So I'm going to say, oops, did I not copy this? Copy that input wrapper and go inside and say that the input itself within it should have a 100% width. Bam, that's what I want. Padding 15 pixel all around. This is temporary. I will change it because for now we're just gonna get the simple things done. 15, no, did I give 15? Okay, we give that border around a border radius of 15, so the inside we give it 10. The border itself, it is too much, so I'm gonna say p1 pixel solid. Oh, man, I can't type. Snow? What is a snow? And then the color is this one. So this primary color. However, I'm going to add an alpha to it. So I'm going to say RGBA and then 0.6 for transparency. All right, text is too small. Let's do that. Font size 1.5, 1.1 rem. There we go. What else I want? I think for now it's good with the text, right? Now let's put this 2 within that input. We're gonna go inside the input wrapper again. Sorry, keep forgetting what I have in my clipboard. And I'm gonna go there and say select the span, right? Position absolute. Bam. What else? So first, let's bring it up. So let's say top 0, left, dang it, left 0. Should I, let me add that padding. Again, the padding, we need to play with it. For now, I'm gonna leave it as it is. Now, I don't want the user to be able to select like this, which is the point, and we want it to be like a placeholder. So first, let's change the color. And I can't really type. I'm gonna use this RGBA because it's kind of like, you know, save it. You can see it gets grayed out. Now, for that, because we don't want the user to select it, we say pointer events should be none. So there we go. Now I cannot select it. I don't want the outline. This is on this. I don't want the outline on the input itself. So when user clicks on it, so basically when the focus is on the input, this text should go up and becomes smaller. For now, we'll leave it and let's talk about the button. So button, this should be almost the same. So I'm going to copy everything. I don't need the pointer event. And instead of left, it should be right. Padding, I'm going to keep it for now. No, I don't need it for now, but I don't need the border. So none. Also BG or background, none. There we go. Now to center that, I'm going to use translate because that will not move so much. Font size 1.1. Is that okay? No. 2 rem maybe. Yeah, that's good. You can play with these numbers and see which one is best for you. So I'm going to keep it at 2 rem for now. Let's fix that problem on the right and bottom. So if I bring back that padding and give it 10 pixel, I know if I give it 15, it's just mess up everything because the font size is not the same as the other ones. I mean 10, if you give 10, it almost seems perfect. The problem is that it's not perfect. So let's actually change it. We want to say that from top 50% and then transform that by translating it on and on y-axis minus 50%. Basically, yep, center it perfectly vertically. So far, so good. Now, when we type, it goes to that on that button, right? What we want to do, go back to the input. Now play with the padding. And remember, padding goes top, right, bottom, left. So top is 15. I actually want more. Let's say 25 and also maybe 40 on the right, 10 at the bottom, 10 on the left. See how it looks. Maybe more on the right side, 50. Yep. And too much on top, maybe make it 20, 20. All right. So 20, 50, 10, 10. That's good. All right. Now let's fix that one too. So the S span, we gave it 15. Let's fix it to 10 first because initially the left is the most important one. And right there, it's good. And also, we want it to be, we want also this one to be centered. Now we can play with the padding. For example, on the top, we are giving this one 20. So if I copy the whole thing here, there are two ways to center this one. We can play with the padding, basically saying like 20, 50, just like that. But you can see it doesn't work the same. If I say font size even the same as that, it wouldn't change. It wouldn't fix the problem because it's absolute, right? What we can do, if I say, for example, 10 from the top or 15 from the top, you see, it's almost center. Now we could either use this or just like the button, we can also say, you know what, do it this way. So the padding, instead of giving it all like this, we're just going to say 10 px all around. There we go, right? 10 pixel all around. All right, so far it's cool. And the only thing is left for now is that when the user clicks on this field, that text should go up. So let's talk about this one. So I want the wrap. I want this span, but when I click on my input, so let's grab it. Is there anything left? Before I do it, I just want to add pointer, nope, pointer, no, not pointer, cursor, sorry, cursor pointer, because this button, yeah, that's the one. Now, I want to say that when I click on input, and so basically the focus is on my input, go grab, so with this tilde sign, go grab the span, yeah, and translate it, transform, translate y minus 20 pixel. I'm not sure about this number. We'll see how it works. Okay, almost nothing. Let's say 40 pixel. There we go. Now, the font should be different, right? Font size should be 0.7 rem, let's say. Too small? Maybe just a tad bigger. All right, too high? 35? All right, that seems fine. Now to give it a transition, we have to apply the transition to the span itself. So we go to up to the span, say transition all, 0.3 second maybe. Let's see, 4. You could add these ease in and out or ease just for now. And bam, there we go. It's already working fine, right? You see, the user doesn't know the padding, of course, right? And when they click on it, it immediately feels like it's the right padding, right? Right numbers. So we could even play with these around. So for example, this 35, if we want to be a bit more space on top, you see even better, 33 works for me. And these numbers, you can play around with them and see what's the best for you. And we can even say, okay, so here's one problem though, before I move on. When I type something, so this is valid, right? And if I click outside, see what happens? This comes down. So we don't want this to get back down here when there is text in there. So we can say if, so I'm going to copy this. So we want to keep these units if the focus is on and, so what do you call this? Comma, and also when the input is valid. Basically, there's something in it, and there we go. So if there's nothing in it, it's like that. If I click on it and type, then go away, still, I'm clicking outside, so it's still up there, keeping it up there. Let's actually give it a work on it even more, better UI. So I want to change the color, just like Apple. So you see the outline becomes blue. Let's do that. So we want to grab input and say outline. What am I doing this? Actually, up here we set outline none, so we can say copy this one, okay, and say 2 pixel instead of blue, instead of black. Let me grab some nice blue color. Let's grab one of these, which I'm gonna grab this one, okay. And in fact, I need the RGB, so I'm gonna click on it, get the RGB, come back here, and copy, not that one. Jeez, somebody help me. RGBA and then 0.6. All right. Okay, so yeah, that's why I didn't do it. I'm sorry. See, this is why I'm making myself confused. Right now we're saying the input, this one says, but we want it to be only on focus, just like here. Just like here. I am sorry. So when the focus is on, jeez, I messed up everything. When the focus is on, the outline should be 2 pixel. Let's chill for a second. Solid, and then this color with alpha of 0.6. Bam. Man, I make myself confused. All right. So I want also the text and the button becomes the same color as the border when the focus is on or the form is valid. So I'm going to add it here. We're going to say the span color should be this color. There we go. The button as well. So we can't really say the same thing. We cannot add it here. We just have to copy this whole thing. Instead of span, we should say button, right? I think it will work. We'll see because there is an I element inside of the button. Let's see if it works. Yeah, it works, but we don't want that. We don't want these. There we go. And we could actually add this transition to the button just for a nice transition in color too. Yeah, it's not really it's not really evident, but meh. All right. Now this is basically it. And when you type yada yada yada, and the user has to take care of that. Now you see if I type something and click outside, the focus is gone basically. So and that color is gone. So I can also add this valid to this here. So again, if it's focused and valid, keep it blue. Now, the idea is, okay, that this button, when we click on it, it should submit the form and check, validate the input. And the reason I said in the beginning that you can change the type to whatever suits you is that if you change this to email, for example, if you're just checking for email, all right, and you click on here and you type, for example, nothing is not, it's not an email, right? And click outside, see what happens because now it's checking for an email and it's not valid. And therefore, this is what happens. Now, we can go around it by adding a placeholder to this with a space because it has to have something. Just do an input. We add a placeholder and we come here and we say, where is it? This one. So we don't want that text to come back down. So we say if the input, this one, let me copy the whole thing and add it down here. We want to say if the input is not placeholder show, I think. Placeholder shown. See, this basically says, if the placeholder is not showing, that means there is something in there, right? So even if I type something here and it's not valid, it will still stay up there. Now, again, this could be, you can play with this around. We could add more lines to say, well, this is not valid. So we cannot check if it's valid by CSS. We need to use JS, but for now, I think it's good, right? So if you if there's nothing, it's all kind of black or gray. If you focus, it becomes this color and the text goes up. If you type something and click outside, it stays out there. So whether it's valid or not, depending on your type, because we're saying if there is anything in there, right, keep that span up there. Now, um, I would personally think, if I'm using this kind of a form on my page and I'm actually submitting the form, I am using either PHP or some other program on the backend, right? And the validation should go there. And it is easier to actually, check for validation and apply different classes while you're working with the backend. But this is it, guys, and this is all there is for the one input, and you can copy paste this as much as you want. I will see if I can add the second one, so in another video. But for now, this is it, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.